This week's episode is sponsored by the Brilliant Futures Institute. If in 10 years we have artificial intelligence that's going to be smarter than humans, we have advanced robotics, we have all kinds of virtual environments that people can work from a distance, why are you so special that you can command the rates that you are right now? Why will you not be obsolete? Welcome to the Preeminence Podcast.
You cannot be a courageous leader if you're not vulnerable.
Your legacy is every life you've touched.
The only thing that changes our life long term is when we raise our standards.
Now is the time to take risk.
The way it's always been done isn't necessarily the way it should be done.
What is your dream? What do you think 2050, 2100 is going to look like?
The most incredible sort of mystery, I think, is now the question of what comes next.
Stay hungry, stay foolish.
Welcome to the Preeminence Podcast. I'm your host, Matthew J. Peters. Visit preeminence.tv to learn more about how to create a preeminent presence for your business, organization, or personal brand. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or just ask Alexa to play the Preeminence Podcast. Hey there, this is Matthew Peters, and thank you so much for being a part of this program. Now, this program is all about becoming preeminent, meaning you become known as being one of the very best in the world at what you do. Why is this so important? This is incredibly important because people are going to become obsolete. Now, what do I mean by this? As we have even more artificial intelligence, as we have even more competition globally because language is not going to be a barrier in the next 10 years. We have more and more people, millions and millions of people from all over the world graduating, working incredibly hard to graduate college and to graduate high school and get advanced degrees and able to speak English or in other languages. The borders of language are no longer going to be something that's going to separate you. So I'm looking at our kids, and I'm also looking at ourselves. If in 10 years we have artificial intelligence that's going to be smarter than humans, we have advanced robotics, we have all kinds of virtual environments that people can work from a distance and be able to see holographically, people that they're working with or they're having meetings with, why are you so special that you can command the rates that you are right now? Why will you not be obsolete? If you can explain that to me, why in 10 years you are not going to be obsolete, then you may keep your job. You may be thinking, well, I have advanced degrees. As a matter of fact, I am a specialist in the medical field. Well, I'll tell you right now that, yes, if you are working at McDonald's, they are going to be getting rid of a lot of the people that are working at the cash register. They're already doing that right now with touch screens. They can look at all the processes and say, okay, we don't need a human to do this anymore. We don't need to hope someone shows up for work and have to spend $1,000 on training them over the next month of having managers train them. We can just have this replaced with a machine like that. But you also have the far other end of the spectrum, people who are highly advanced in their skills, went to a decade of college to become a surgeon, and now these surgeons are not as accurate as the robots. So robots can now go in and do the surgery that these advanced specialists were able to do. And if they can pay for that machine over the course of 2, 3, or 4 or 5 years by doing even more surgeries than they are now, even more accurately, then what is the place of a surgeon? You could also look at Uber. Uber has all these thousands and thousands of drivers all over the world who are driving people from place to place, and now we have cars that can drive themselves. And pretty soon, those cars that drive themselves are going to be available to drive people from place to place. So instead of parking your Tesla in your driveway or your garage, just letting it sit there, you can loan it out. You can have it go to work for you and come back when you need it. All of these things are going to be available within the next 10 years. What are you doing to prepare your kids? What are you doing to prepare? This is why it is so vital that you become preeminent, that you become the master and keep going and keep learning and keep teaching and keep sharing your message. If you are not doing this, you are going to become irrelevant. You're going to become obsolete. Now, there was just a friend of mine who went to a conference, and one of the things the scientists brought up is once artificial intelligence gets to the point where they are far superior in their processing to the human mind, they're going to look at the efficiency of a human, how inefficient they are, and what is the purpose of a human. This may seem very dystopic, but the thing is, this is a reality. This is a possible future, and we need to prepare our children for it. So I'm going to get a little bit politically incorrect here, but if you and your spouse are raising children, or you and your girlfriend or boyfriend are raising children, and you have a difference of opinion, I believe so strongly in this that you need to teach your children up in the way that you believe that they need to grow. If you're just going to let them do the basics, get C's in school, come home, watch TV, play video games, and do the same thing on repeat, hanging out all weekend, not doing anything, not building anything, not producing anything, they just consume, they're going to become a part of the consumer network, and they're not going to bring value to humanity, value to the planet. Once they find that people who are becoming more of a burden on society than they are a producer, that is when we're going to take a look at what is the value of a human being. Now, I say all this because it is so vital that you train your kids up. I want to read to you part of a post I did on Facebook about a year ago. I called it Unschool Your Kids. Let me just read this here. It's interesting that I have educators tell me that I give my kids too much tech time, and others telling me that I give my kids too much reading time. My son is 10, and he's programming JavaScript. My daughter has learned how to break down recipes and best practices from YouTube videos for cooking for our family. She's assembling a cookbook. It's summer, and I'm fully vested in my kids' future. I remember summer for me when I was playing video games, consuming TV, and playing outside without any aim or plan. For those who are asking me which curriculum I'm following, I'm not following any homeschool curriculum. I don't need a book to tell me what my children need to become as successful and fulfilled as they possibly can be. I need to be constantly listening to my children and what they're telling me. I need to see where the future is leading and help them be relevant and produce value then. Now, I work with adults on this, and I can also share those concepts with my kids. I don't need a factory curriculum, and I don't expect the average American to understand this either. This morning, we listened to 30 minutes of Tony Robbins, talked about how he went from his 400-square-foot apartment to his castle, how he set his 20-year goals and completed 95% of them in 1 year by identifying what he desired, how he went from $38,000 a year to $1 million the next. We then went through the exercise Tony recommended. Then we talked about it. We stopped the recording whenever they had a question. I learned more about my kids by being present, by listening, by showing up, by expecting them to show up for themselves, by being invested fully, by co-discovering what will help them inspire themselves, by explaining to them why I'm doing what I am doing with them and for them. Kids are smart. They understand more than you are letting them. I know my kids can be leaders. They know that leader isn't something they're calling themselves. Rather, they know that leadership is earned. I know they can and will shape the world around them when they define what they want, why they want it, and develop a plan and are persistent working towards it. I don't tell them what to think. I give them the tools to think for themselves. Most people are leaving the raising of their children to media and to the school system that is preparing children to be excellent consumers. They have no idea how to help children increase their value in an ever-increasing global economy. So I recommend teaching your kids. Teach them personal finance, how to work for it, how to communicate, how to sell, how marketing works on them, the importance and meaning of failure, pride in a job well done, doing everything with excellence, Spanish and Mandarin, entrepreneurialism, how to innovate, how to spot opportunities, how to read nutrition labels, how to create opportunities, logic and reason, persuasion, calculating risk, thinking outside the realm that others think, thinking inside the box and following the simple instructions, thinking from the other's perspective, persistence, economics of supply and demand, the difference between beliefs and facts, how to slow down and quiet the mind, how to approach their challenges from different angles, how to frame their language to serve them, to be accountable, how to learn the rules and exploit them, how to respectfully disagree. So no, I don't follow a curriculum, but I have lived long enough and can see the trajectory of how things develop in the future. Every child holds unlimited potential, yet they live in a world of growing competition and limitless distractions. Teach your children what you wish you would have been taught from the perspective you have today. That's what I wrote, and I had a tremendous response because people are sick and tired of status quo. If you are an entrepreneur, if you are a business owner, if you are a leader, you need to lead your kids. You need to push them in a way that they develop themselves. For us to keep pushing them along our way, it's going to be a struggle. But if we listen to them and hear what they're telling us their passions are, asking them the tough questions so they discover who they are and help them with all the tools and the understanding we have of what today and the future holds, we can create leaders. Our children all have the potential to become leaders, but they need us. They need an adult. They need someone to shepherd them, to help them explore what it is that they have as their true capability and their true passion in life. I'm talking about children, but I'm also talking about you. If you're just doing things as little as possible, trying to chill out and not actually do the work, trying to figure out how you can get out of doing work, you are going to be irrelevant and obsolete. Give it 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, you won't have any purpose in life. This may sound really harsh. This may sound like I've lost my mind. But I'm telling you right now, you need to become 100% relevant today and future-proof your future and your children's future by knowing where it's all going. How are you going to remain relevant? How are you going to be known as the preeminent voice? You need to develop that now. You need to keep investing in your education and educate yourself. You don't need a prepackaged education. Everything that's been prepackaged for your children is out of date. If I want my son, who is 10 years old, to learn American history, I will give him a book on American history, and instead of spending years and years in history class, he can learn it in a week. There's nothing more than what would be in an American history book that he would ever need to know. He does not need to remember dates. He needs to know what happened and what are the politics behind it. He needs to understand that history is a lie agreed upon. He has to understand that logic and the way he thinks through things and understanding all of the facts in the situation are what is going to help him think through to get the correct answer for himself. He needs to understand by reaching into himself, he's going to reach people by understanding his truth and understanding other people's perspectives. He's got to learn logic and reasoning and persuasion and perception. Those are the things that our children are going to need to know. And as we are teaching them, we are also teaching ourselves. It is time to choose preeminence. If you haven't chosen preeminence, just understand you're probably going to be irrelevant in the next 10 years. Not only irrelevant, but obsolete. What are you going to do when what you do right now is obsolete? You got to always be learning. You have to know where the trends are going. You need to stay relevant. You need to be future relevant. This is what I have for you today. It is ultimately up to you what you want to do with your life. And if you have children that are still in the household or you are still responsible for, help them develop their true self, their true worth. Keep getting them excited about learning, about growing, about producing, about finding value, about creating value, about looking at opportunities and being able to weigh them, about logic and reasoning and communication. Those are the things that are going to help them become ultimately relevant in the future. Thank you so much for listening to this. And if you have made the decision to become ultimately preeminent in your industry, I want you to go to preeminence.tv, download the Preeminence Guide. The Ultimate Guide to Preeminence. It is so vital that you understand that this is what you need to be doing. I highly recommend it. You can no longer be the jack of all trades. You need to focus on something that's going to be future-proof. Thank you so much. I look forward to talking with you next week. Thank you for listening to the Preeminence Podcast. Subscribe to hear powerful interviews and insights each week automatically downloaded the moment they go live. Share this episode with your team, your friends, and post it on social media. Let us know your comments and suggestions for the show at m@ascend.net. That's the letter M at ASYND.net.